Hello and welcome back to This Day in History. It is September 10th, 2024. As you know, it's not about the year, but it's about the magic of the day. And what is magical about today is that it is my youngest brother's 19th birthday. Love this kid. So proud of the man that he's become. Unfortunately, I'm a little estranged from the family, so I don't talk to my brother, but that doesn't mean that I don't, because my dad and I don't talk. Not on my part. I mean, like, you know, whatever, to each their own. It's one of those things where we don't talk. My father is always in my thoughts. He's always in my prayers. And my brother also is in my thoughts. I mean, like, he's a good kid. He's a great kid. You know, love my brother dearly. So happy birthday, Michael. I hope you have a great day. So we have some interesting stuff that happened on this day. So let's just get into it, shall we? So the year is 1934, and one of my baseball heroes, and I don't know why, because it was before my time. It's not like I ever got to see him play or anything like that, but I'm a fan of the New York Yankees, and I think it really it's because of the franchise history, I suppose, and the greats that played for them. And one of the greats was Roger Maris. He was born on this day in 1934. He held the record for the most home runs in 1961. And if you've ever seen the movie 61, it has an asterisk next to it, and that asterisk is explained. It was a great movie. Billy Crystal, he produced that movie, I believe, because he was a big fan of baseball at the time, and I believe he said that he was actually at that game as a kid and watched Roger Maris break that record. And what it really came down to was that it was 1961. He and another teammate of his, Mickey Mantle, they were in a dead heat to beat that record, and that record was held by Babe Ruth. Well, the MLB, in its infinite wisdom, decided that they were going to put an asterisk next to the record when it was beat, and their reasoning behind it was, well, it's not fair that you broke this record, because the reality is that there are more games in the current season, current being in 1961, than what Babe Ruth would have played back when he was a player. So, you know, having played more games gives you an opportunity to get more hits, to get more home runs, to get more, to bank up your records. So, in their infinite wisdom, they decided to do that. So yes, technically, Roger Maris beat Babe Ruth's home run record of 60 home runs in a single season. So he made 61 runs in 1961. It was that year, but they put an asterisk next to it because they figure that, sure, you broke the record, but you played more games to break the record, so it kind of doesn't really count. My only thing to that is, okay, fine. MLB should remove that asterisk if they're not going to follow suit and do the same thing for, I don't know, Barry Bonds when he hit his home run record. When he beat the home run record, when he did, it was as a result of he had said he was going to donate $10,000 for every home run that he got, and so pitchers that knew that they weren't ever going to go to the pennant race, that they were out of contention for pennant races, they would feed him home runs, and so that he would, bank all these home runs. And so he earned the home run record. I think that was 2005, 2004, 2005, somewhere in there, 2006, somewhere in there. I think that, if you're going to do the disservice of Roger Maris, who was he was a pretty straight guy, clean player, no bad vices, that sort of thing. I mean, he was just, he was a good player, and they stuck him with an asterisk because Babe Ruth was just so beloved. and that's fine. But I mean, then MLB should be fair is fair, and they should be sticking an asterisk next to Barry Bonds' record as well, because I mean that was, again, more games are being played than, when Barry Bonds was playing, more games are being played in that season than there were in 1961. So you need to apply the same logic. He was fed home runs, which, I mean, that's almost like, I don't know. To me, that's almost like what happened in the 1919 World Series when the 8 guys of the Chicago White Sox were on trial for taking bribes. I mean, it's almost the same vein as far as I'm concerned, but that's just me. Sorry, I got off on a tangent there. 1929, we see the birth of American golfer Arnold Palmer. No, it is not just a drink. He was a real guy. He was a phenomenal golfer. I mean, not that I'm not really into golf, but he was one of the golfing greats there. He was born in 1929. Stephen Jay Gould was an American paleontologist. He was born in 1941. Bill O'Reilly, and I've actually been reading his Killing series books, or rather, I have them on Audible. So, the Killing Lincoln, Killing Kennedy, Killing Patton, Killing Jesus. I have all those books. I've listened to Killing Jesus and Killing Lincoln. About ready to listen to Killing Patton and then Killing Kennedy as a result. But at any rate, he's an American TV personality, radio personality. He's an author, obviously, because I've just plugged his books. He was born in 1949, so happy birthday, Bill O'Reilly. Randy Johnson was an American baseball player. He was actually a pitcher for the Seattle Mariners, and then he went on to play elsewhere. But he was born on this day in 1963. Chinese entrepreneur, and I had to look it up. He did the Alibaba Group. Jack Ma, he was born in 1964. So we go back in time, right? We're going to, the year is 1419. John the Fearless, second Duke of Burgundy, he was killed during a meeting with Charles VII at Montorgueil, France. 1651, Japanese rebel Yui Shosetsu basically suicided himself after a failure of a plot against Tokugawa shogunate. Basically, he was trying to overthrow the shogunate and failed. And so what is indicative of their culture is, if you're a failure, you are given the opportunity to commit ritualistic suicide, which is like seppuku, I think is what they call it. Harikari, harikari is another term I've heard. Basically, it's ritualistic suicide. 1721, the Second Northern War, 1721 is concluded by Peace of New York. I don't know what that is. I can't read my own handwriting. I apologize. New York Stad. I'm sorry. 1813. The U.S. defeats the British at the Battle of Lake Erie. Oliver Hazard Perry was in charge of that. 1846, American inventor Elias Howe granted a patent for the sewing machine. 1919, Austria and the Allied powers signed the Treaty of Saint-Germain, effectively concluding World War I. 1955, Gunsmoke debuted on CBS. It would go for 20 years on TV there. 1974, Guinea-Bissau gains independence from Portugal. 1984, Alex Trebek debuts as the host of Jeopardy! I always liked Alex Trebek. 1988, Steffi Graf wins the U.S. Open. She completed the Grand Slam of tennis. She was another one of the tennis greats of that era. 1993, The X-Files debuts on Fox. I had a buddy of mine who was really huge into that show. I watched it a few times. I really couldn't get into it. 2000, Andrew Lloyd Webber's Cats closes after 7,485 performances. 2008, the Large Hadron Collider conducted its very first test operation. And if you don't know what a Hadron Collider is, basically it's they bombard atoms at a nuclear level, and causing some form of something to it. I mean, it's stuff over my head, but it is on this day. Here's the historical thing. It's on this day that in 1608, John Smith was chosen as president of Jamestown. Now, if you ever watched Pocahontas, you know who John Smith was. He was actually captured by the locals. His life was spared. He was actually to be executed, but his life was spared by Pocahontas herself. And I don't know if it's how historically accurate it is that the two of them got together and they lived happily ever after. But he did have a working relationship with the locals as a result of his relationship, whatever relationship it was, with Pocahontas. So that is it for this day in history for my brother's birthday, September 10th. We will do it again tomorrow for September 11th. And so have a great day. Be well, be blessed. All right.